That perennial in your yard right now, the one that used to bloom heavy and now barely puts out a few flowers, is telling you something. It is not tired, it is not sick, it is choking on itself. And August, the next 4 weeks, is the last window this year to fix it. 15 perennials on this list. 8 you must divide right now or the blooms get worse every single season. And 7 where if you touch them with a shovel, you will kill a plant that has lived in that same spot for 30 years. One of the 8 I have divided every August for 4 decades. It doubled my flower count in 9 months. And the number 1 plant you must never divide is the one most gardeners in America dig up first. That single mistake ends more perennials than deer, drought, and frost combined. Now here is the thing nobody explains. Perennials fall into 2 groups underground, and it decides everything. Group 1 is called a clumping root, a bunch of little roots and shoots packed together like a bundle of onions. Those you can slice apart with a shovel, and both halves live. In fact, both halves bloom better because you gave them room again. Group 2 is called a taproot, one thick, deep root going straight down 3 feet, sometimes 4, like a carrot. Cut a carrot in half, and you do not get 2 carrots. You get 1 dead carrot and 1 struggling stub. Same with these plants. The taproot is the plant. Damage it, you lose the whole thing. The 8 coming up in the first half, clumpers. Divide them right now. The 7 in the second half, taproots or woody crowns. Leave them alone forever. Let me start with number 8. Sedum Autumn Joy, the one with the flat pink flower heads that turn rust red in October. Every senior gardener in America has this plant, and every senior gardener in America has watched it do the same thing, flop open in the middle like somebody sat on it. That is the plant screaming for a division. Here is what is going on. Sedum grows outward every year. After 3 or 4 years, the center of the clump is old, woody, spent. The outside is still growing hard. The whole thing gets top-heavy, splits open, and the flower heads face plant into the dirt right when they should be at their peak. August is your window. Wait for a cool morning. Dig the whole clump out with a shovel. Go wide, 6 inches out from the crown. Slice the clump into pieces the size of a softball, each with roots and shoots. Throw the dead centerpiece on the compost pile. Replant the outer pieces 6 inches deep. Water once. Walk away. Next fall, those replanted pieces will stand up straight and give you flower heads twice the size. Same plant, 2-minute job. Free plants for every neighbor on your street. Number 7. Garden Phlox. Garden Phlox is the tall summer bloomer with the sweet-smelling clusters, pink, white, purple, magenta. You know the one. It sits at the back of every American perennial border from Maine down to Georgia. And I will tell you the truth, 9 out of 10 of them are being underused. Phlox multiplies underground into a dense mat of roots and stems. By year 4 or 5, that mat is packed so tight the middle stems cannot get water, cannot get air. And here is the killer, they cannot get airflow. That is when powdery mildew hits, white fuzzy leaves. Half the plant looks sick by August. The fix is not fungicide. The fix is division. Cut the whole clump back to 6 inches first, then dig it up wide and deep. You will see clearly what needs to happen. A ring of healthy young shoots around a dead middle. Chop the ring into 3 or 4 fist-sized pieces. Toss the middle. Space the pieces at least 18 inches apart when you replant. Not 12, not 15, 18. Airflow is what stops the mildew. Do this every 3 years and your phlox lives forever. Skip it. And by year 7, you have one sick, half-dead plant where you used to have flowers you could see from the road. Number 6. Yarrow. The flat-topped flower with the ferny leaves comes in yellow, pink, red, coral, and white. Deer will not touch it. Rabbits will not touch it. Drought does not faze it. And every 3 years, it needs to be split apart, or it starts to look like a mess. Yarrow is a spreader. It sends out underground stems in every direction, and inside 4 years, you have a colony instead of a plant. The outside is still blooming. The middle is bare dirt, dead stems, and weeds. Same disease as sedum, same as phlox. The center burns out. August works because yarrow tolerates heat better than almost any perennial you own. Dig it, chop it apart with a spade. No need to be gentle. This plant is tough. Then replant fresh pieces. One yarrow clump usually gives you 6 to 8 new plants. I have filled a whole 30-foot bed off one 4-year-old Coronation Gold I dug up on a Saturday morning. Listen carefully to this next part. Do not add fertilizer when you replant yarrow. Fertilizer makes the stems weak and floppy. Yarrow wants poor, dry, forgotten soil. Neglect it, and it will bloom for you 3 more decades. The best drought plant most Americans still are not planting enough of. Number 5. Bee Balm, Monarda, the shaggy red or pink or purple flowers that hummingbirds cannot leave alone in July. If you have hummingbirds in your yard, thank the bee balm. Nothing else pulls them in like this plant. Here is the problem though. Bee balm is a stem runner. It spreads sideways under the soil like a small green army. Year 1, it is polite. Year 2, you have a nice patch. Year 3, you have bee balm in the tomatoes, bee balm in the lawn, and bee balm coming up between the stones of your walkway. The center of the original clump is bald. The blooms have shrunk, and the whole colony is a powdery mildew factory by mid-August. Division does 2 jobs at once. It shrinks the colony back to size, and it refreshes the flowering by throwing out the tired middle. Cut the plants back to 8 inches after they finish blooming. Dig the whole colony. Chop it into small pieces, 3 or 4 stems each. Replant only the strong outer pieces. Give them 2 feet of space, 2 feet minimum. This plant needs air like phlox needs air. The trick most people miss: after you replant, mulch 2 inches thick around each piece. Bee balm hates dry roots in August heat, and freshly divided pieces have half their root system. Mulch is what carries them through until fall. Your hummingbirds next July will double. Number 4, Shasta Daisy, the big white daisy with the bright yellow center that says summer to every American gardener over 60. My mother had a row of Shastas along the fence for as long as I was alive, and here is the thing she taught me that most gardeners still get wrong. Shastas die in the middle every 2 to 3 years, faster than most perennials. You will notice it as a bare brown circle inside a ring of green leaves. That plant is on borrowed time. If you leave it alone, 1 more season and the whole clump is gone. August division brings it back from the dead. Dig the whole plant. Look at it. You will see the ring of live green crown around a hollow dead core. Cut the ring into 4 or 5 pieces with a sharp knife. Discard the middle. Replant the live pieces 1 foot apart in fresh soil, and I mean fresh. Shastas hate their old dirt. Mix a shovel of compost into every planting hole. Here is the difference between an average gardener and a great one on this plant. The average gardener does this every 4 or 5 years. The great one does it every 2. Because Shastas divided every 2 years, bloom twice as heavy the next season. I have counted the flower heads. I am not exaggerating. Alexander is the classic variety. Becky is the tough one. One thing quick before I get into the top 3 divides. Drop your zone in the comments. I want to see where everybody watching this lives, because when we get into the Never Divide 7 in the second half of this video, one of them behaves totally differently in a Zone 5 winter than a Zone 8 winter, and I will call out which one. Now back to the divides. Number 3. Hosta, the shade queen of American gardens. If you have a shady spot, you have a hosta. And if you have had that hosta for more than 4 years, it is time. Hosta grows outward from a central crown every single year. Slowly, quietly, respectfully, but it never stops. After 5, 6, 7 years, you have a plant the size of a bathtub, and the middle leaves are smaller than they used to be. That is the signal. The plant has outgrown its own root system. August works for hosta in most of the country. In zones 5 and 6, August is ideal. In zones 3 and 4, push it earlier, late July. In zones 7 and 8, you have until early September. The soil needs to be warm enough for new roots, but cool enough for the plant not to fry. Dig the whole plant. Big shovel, go wide, get the entire root ball. Wash the dirt off with a garden hose so you can see what you are doing. Now look at the crown. You will see natural divisions. The hosta will tell you where to cut. Use a sharp knife, sometimes a serrated bread knife for the giants, and separate. Each division needs 3 or 4 healthy eyes. Replant at the exact same depth, not deeper, not shallower. Water heavy for 3 weeks. And imagine that, 1 hosta becomes 5. 5 hostas that will still be alive when your grandchildren inherit the house. Number 2, Daylily, the single most reliable perennial ever put in American dirt. Stella Doro, happy returns. The reblooming varieties, millions of them planted from front yards to highway medians, and most of them are quietly declining because nobody divides them anymore. Here is the pattern. A daylily grows in what gardeners call fans. Every year, the crown throws off 2 or 3 new fans, and the fans crowd inward on themselves. By year 5, you have 40 fans packed into a space meant for 8. The plant is competing with itself for water, for food, for root space. The blooms shrink. The bloom count drops. Some varieties stop blooming altogether, and you never realize why. Division fixes everything, and Daylily is the easiest division on this entire list. August, September, either works. Dig the whole plant, shake off loose dirt, look at the crown, and you will see the fans clearly. Pull the whole clump apart with your hands. Sometimes it comes apart easily. Sometimes you need to work a garden fork through the middle to split it. Either way, no knife needed for most varieties. Replant clumps of 3 to 5 fans each, 2 feet apart. Water in. That is the entire job. Now here is what nobody talks about. Daylily divisions bloom the very next summer, not 2 years, not 3. The next summer. Almost no other perennial on this list can promise that. Divide 5 plants this August, and you have 20 blooming plants next July. Best plant to hand out to grandkids who are just starting a garden. Quick note before number 1. This whole approach, how to build a garden that basically takes care of itself once it is established, I put the long version into a book. It is over at henrysgardensecrets.com. I only mention it because so many of you have asked, and it goes way deeper than what fits into one video. All right, number 1, bearded iris. If there is one plant on this list where division is not optional but mandatory, this is it. And August is not just the best time, it is the only time. Miss August, and you wait another whole year and lose another season of blooms. Bearded iris grows from a rhizome, a thick, fleshy root that sits on top of the soil, not under it. That rhizome pushes new growth forward every single year, and the old part behind it dies. After 3 years, more than half of your iris clump is dead rhizome mass, and every bit of that dead mass is a rot invitation and a food supply for iris borer, which is the worst iris pest in North America. Here is the exact drill. 6 to 8 weeks after your iris finished blooming, for most of America, that is right now, the first weeks of August, dig the whole clump, wash it clean with the hose so you can see everything. Now, here is the part that separates a good gardener from a great one. Throw away the old dead center rhizomes. Do not replant them. They will not bloom. They only feed rot. Keep only the fresh outer rhizomes with a fan of green leaves attached. Trim those leaves back to a 6-inch fan shape. This is called the fan cut. It reduces water loss while new roots grow in. Replant with the top of the rhizome exposed to the sun, not buried, exposed. Iris rhizomes need to bake in the sunlight to bloom next year. Bury them and you get leaves and no flowers every single time. That is your 8 divides. Every one of them right now in August will pay you back with a better bloom next year and free plants for anyone who wants them. Now the switch. The next 7 perennials, do not touch them with a shovel, ever. Not in August, not in spring, not in fall. These plants do not have clumping roots. They have taproots or woody crowns, and every one of them will die on you if you try to divide it. I have watched it happen too many times. Let me start with number 7, lupine, the tall spiked flowers in blue and pink and yellow and white, the plant that looks like foxglove's showier cousin. Every American gardener who has ever seen a Russell hybrid lupine in full bloom has wanted a whole patch of them. Here is the truth nobody tells you when you buy one. Lupine is a short-lived perennial with a taproot. 2 things wrong for division right there. First, the taproot is a single deep anchor going straight down 12 to 18 inches. Slice it and you kill the plant. Second, even the best cared for lupine only lives 3 to 5 years in most of America. Dividing them cuts that lifespan in half. If you want more lupines, you do not divide. You collect the seed pods after flowering, dry them for 2 weeks, and sow the seeds directly where you want them the next spring. Lupine grown from seed on site develops its taproot in place from day 1 and lives twice as long as a transplant. Number 6, balloon flower, the plant with the puffed up bud that looks exactly like a tiny hot air balloon before it pops open into a 5-pointed star. Blue, white, pink, a perennial that looks nothing like anything else in your border. This one is dangerous because it looks like something you could divide. The plant makes a dense clump above ground, and every 3 or 4 years it gets bigger. So the amateur gardener says, right, time to split it, digs it up, and discovers something horrifying. Under that neat little clump is a huge fleshy taproot going straight down, and there is no way to divide the plant without destroying the taproot. The other trap with balloon flower is that it emerges late in spring, really late, and this is where it splits by zone. Remember, I mentioned this in the comments call out earlier. In zones 3 through 5, up north where the winters are hard, balloon flower does not show a single shoot until mid-May. In zones 7 and 8 down south, it is up by early April. Every year I get emails from panicked northern gardeners who dug up their balloon flower in March thinking it was dead. It was not dead. It was just sleeping deep because the ground was still cold. Mark it with a stake in fall so you know where it lives. Number 5, lavender. The one you buy for the scent, the color, the pollinators, and for that Mediterranean cottage garden look that never goes out of style. Munstead, Hidcote, Provence, the classic varieties every American perennial grower knows by name. Here is why you cannot divide lavender. Lavender is not a true perennial. It is a small woody shrub. The base of the plant is actual wood, not soft green stem, actual wood, like a tiny tree trunk. You cannot chop wood in half and expect it to root. It is like taking an axe to a rose bush and expecting 2 rose bushes. Every gardener I have ever met who tried to divide a mature lavender ended up with one dead pile of woody stems and a hole in their garden. If you want more lavender, you take softwood cuttings in early summer. Snip 4-inch pieces of fresh green growth from the tips, strip the lower leaves, stick them in gritty potting mix, keep them damp for 6 weeks. Free lavender plants that root faithfully. That is the only way to multiply this plant. And listen, even if you never divide it or take cuttings, a well-sited lavender in dry, poor, sunny soil will live 12 to 15 years. Leave it alone. Let it be a shrub. Hit the subscribe button if you are new to the channel. Every video I put out is meant to save you the mistakes I made in my own garden over the years, so you get to skip the losses and go straight to the wins. All right, back to it. 4 left. And number 1 is the plant most Americans get wrong on the first try. Number 4, Oriental Poppy. The huge crepe paper red or orange or salmon blooms in late May and early June that stop traffic. The plant that looks utterly dead by mid-July every single year and comes right back the next spring. The mid-July death is the reason people try to divide this plant, and it is the reason they kill it. They see the yellowing foliage. They think the plant is finished. They dig it up to move it or share it, and they discover the taproot, deep, brittle, and one solid piece. Here is the one window for Oriental Poppy, August, and I mean August only. After the plant has gone completely dormant above ground and before it wakes up in September with a fresh flush of leaves. Miss that window and the plant will die on you. Even in August, this is a risky move, not a routine one. The taproot breaks easily. Any piece of broken root left in the ground will regrow, sometimes into a whole new plant, sometimes into nothing at all. Move it if you absolutely must move it, but do not divide it for multiplication. Multiply Oriental Poppy with root cuttings taken in fall, 1-inch pieces of taproot planted horizontally in a nursery bed. The real rule for most gardeners, pick the right spot the first time. Once Oriental Poppy is happy, do not move it, do not divide it, do not touch it. Number 3, butterfly weed, the bright orange native milkweed that monarch butterflies lay their eggs on. Perennial Plant of the Year in 2017 and one of the most important native plants an American gardener can put in the ground right now, with monarch populations crashing. And here is the tragedy. Every year, gardeners at every big box store buy butterfly weed transplants that die within 1 season. Not because the plant is difficult, because the plant has a taproot that goes down 2, sometimes 3 feet in the wild, and once that taproot is disturbed, the plant spends the next 2 years recovering instead of blooming. You cannot divide butterfly weed. If you dig up a mature plant to split it, you will destroy the taproot and lose the whole thing. And even transplanting a young one usually costs you a full season of bloom. The only right way to grow butterfly weed is from seed sown directly in the ground in fall. The seeds need cold winter temperatures to germinate in spring, what botanists call cold stratification. Sow the seed exactly where you want the plant, right on top of the soil, and let the winter do the work. That plant will build a fresh taproot in place and live for 20 years. Before I get to the last plant on this list, if any of this is landing for you, hit the like button. You are not alone. Now, number 2, Baptisia, false indigo, the 3-foot to 5-foot native perennial with the blue lupine-like spikes in late May and the black seed pods that rattled in the wind by August. Perennial Plant of the Year in 2010, and one of the toughest, longest-lived perennials ever documented in an American garden. The lifespan on this plant is the reason it exists on the Never Divide list. Baptisia grows a woody, deep taproot from year 1, and by year 5, that taproot is going down 3 to 4 feet. By year 10, it is deeper than most gardeners can dig. A mature baptisia is essentially a small tree underground. Nothing you own, no shovel, no fork, no back, is getting that root out in one piece. Ask any extension service in America. Try to divide a baptisia and you will almost certainly kill the parent plant, and the pieces you cut off will not survive either. It is a total loss for zero gain. Buy small. A 1-gallon pot roots in faster than a 5-gallon. Plant in full sun. Choose the spot carefully. That is your only job. Number 1. Peony. The plant most American gardeners try to divide first, and the plant most American gardeners kill first. Peony. Here is why. Peonies live for 100 years in one spot, longer than the gardener, longer than the house sometimes, but they only bloom if the crown, the growing part just under the soil, is planted at exactly the right depth, 1 to 2 inches below the surface. Deeper than 2 inches, and the plant grows leaves and refuses to bloom, sometimes for a full decade. Every time a gardener digs up a peony to divide it, they replant it at the wrong depth. Every time. My grandmother planted a peony in 1954. That plant is still blooming in the same yard 72 years later. Nobody has ever touched it. That is the rule. Do not divide peonies. Leave them where they are. That is your 15. 8 to divide this August: Sedum, Phlox, Yarrow, Balm, Shasta Daisy, Hosta, Daylily, and bearded iris. 7 to leave alone forever: lupine, balloon flower, lavender, oriental poppy, butterfly weed, baptisia, and peony. Get the 8 done in the next 4 weeks and your garden next summer will bloom twice as heavy. Leave the 7 alone and they will outlive you.